Hello, we're here at the Duke Divinity School at the Anglican Episcopal House of Studies with the Reverend Dr. David Marshall, who is the new director of the Anglican Episcopal House.
Absolutely.
And professor of Christian-Muslim relations.
That's right.
Welcome to Duke.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Now, your wife is a priest?
My wife Helen is, yes, she's also a Church of England priest. She has not been able to move over with me to Duke at this point. We have teenage boys who are in the stage of education where they can't move. But she's involved in the Diocese of Carlisle in the north of England, where she is involved in leading retreats and teaching on spirituality, and very involved in a number of local parishes. Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the Anglican Episcopal House of Studies in a minute, but one of the things that's absolutely fascinating about you is that you are a scholar of Islamic studies, and you've got quite a background in that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, absolutely. It comes from way back when I was taking my undergraduate degree in theology. It was a straight-up degree in classical Christian theology, Bible, doctrine, and so on. But I took one course on Islam, which really caught my imagination, my interest. I hadn't previously known anything about it, so that was a voyage of discovery, learning about Islam. But it also, from the beginning, prompts you to think about Christianity. As you know, Islam has a view of Christianity, and it challenges Christians on some central doctrinal, practical matters. And so, from the beginning, it's been a formative process, engaging in understanding Islam, but also reflecting as a Christian on what we're doing in dialogue with Muslims. So I went on and did a master's and then a doctorate. And within all of that, my aim was increasingly to be a resource for the Church in understanding Islam, in learning from Muslims, in the engagement with Muslims, but also helping Christians develop a confident response. Christians also need to be able to give an account of themselves in their encounter, their dialogue with Muslims. Those are the kind of things that I've been working on.
Now, you did some of that at Lambeth Palace.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Well, yes. I was minding my own business, being a parish priest, and somebody heard that I had a doctorate in Islamic studies. Archbishop Carey at that point was looking for a new chaplain, and he said, well, it would be good if the new chaplain knew something about Islam, because back in around 2000, Islam was becoming increasingly important on the agenda of the Archbishop. And somebody heard about me and told me I should apply for this post. So I ended up at Lambeth for 5 years, first under Archbishop Carey, then under Archbishop Williams. Work there was around relations with Muslims, and that took off, particularly, as you can imagine, after 9/11.
Right.
We had a number of processes of dialogue and practical engagement. We had a theological process called Building Bridges, which I've continued to work in over the years, even since I left Lambeth, more recently in a partnership with Georgetown University in DC. And that's been a great process of bringing Christian and Muslim scholars together, theological dialogue chaired by Rowan Williams. I mean, it's been a fantastic process with a man who is both Archbishop of Canterbury, so has that drawing power, but is also such a great theologian and great convener of intellectual dialogue, so that's been wonderful. We also had processes of more practical Christian-Muslim engagement at grassroots level, which the Archbishop was commissioning and I was helping to facilitate, and just all the encounters with different Muslim communities that he engaged in. So that was a great work that I was involved in for 5 years. After that time, I really felt a call to connect with what I think is a central part of my vocation, which is to be a teacher. There wasn't much time for that when I was at Lambeth. And so for the last several years, I've been working around the different theological institutions in England, within the Church of England and more widely, teaching courses on Islam and Christian-Muslim relations. Also some formational work with people preparing for ministry.
One of the fascinating things about the Anglican Communion is that there is clear interface, certainly in Africa, between Anglican Christian communities and Islamic communities. I mean, there are just clear interface, and relations are really important, and nurturing that. Did you have much experience outside of England, working on dialogues or relations?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the processes that we developed was an annual dialogue between the Anglican Communion and a major center of Islamic authority in Egypt called Al-Azhar. And the Anglican delegation consisted of bishops from different parts of the Anglican Communion, the bishop from Egypt. We had a bishop from Pakistan, and I think at one stage maybe one of the bishops from Nigeria was part of that process. And absolutely, we were daily aware at Lambeth of what was going on in different parts of the world. Shortly after I left Lambeth, Archbishop Williams visited Pakistan. So that awareness of what is happening, the painful situations, we're not unaware of that, the situations where Christians are, are in a minority. Situations like in Nigeria, where actually the balance of the population is more even. That's one of the issues there. But where Christian-Muslim relations clearly can be very explosive, and you have very significant brave leadership by some Anglican leaders there in dialogue and in reconciliation.
Roughly how many students are there in the whole Divinity School, and how many in the Anglican Episcopal?
My understanding is we're somewhere around 500, 600 students in the school in the Divinity School altogether, and somewhere around 50 in the Anglican Episcopal House of Studies. I think that's so it's a sizable community within this community, and
well, and I think it is remarkable, one, to be in an ecumenical environment, but to be in an ecumenical environment where there's interfaith engagement and relationships in an academic university, in an urban community. I mean, there are a lot of bridges being built here, and it really is important.
absolutely all kinds of things going on.
The Anglican Episcopal House of Studies not only works with seminarians who are here at the seminary, but also has offerings for the wider church and community. And one of those is coming up soon.
Absolutely. We have a regular program of study days, and we have a fantastic one coming up just next month on March the 14th. Professor Stanley Hawass is doing a whole day on preaching. I'm looking forward to that enormously, and I'll be chairing that day, hosting that day, and the day is open for local clergy. They should get in touch with AHS as soon as possible to register if they're interested in coming. I recommend it warmly.
And we'll include links to that so people can do that with this edition.
Thank you very much.
You are a delight, and welcome
Thank you
to
very
Duke
much.
Divinity and the Anglican Episcopal House.
Thank you very much, Bishop. Good to be here.
God bless you, and keep the faith.